Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. It's Friday the 22nd of August. Great to have your company this morning. I just want to start by apologising for our technical problems yesterday. As you can see, we are back. We may be a minute late, but we are back. Some hard work from our clever team got things fixed yesterday, so we've got a packed show for you this morning. Thanks for sticking with us. Coming up this morning, the big Defence Force spending announcement created a bit of excitement in Parliament, as it's good news for the Air Force. The Air Vice Marshal Darren Webb live on the show. The All Blacks are set to name their team for the second test against Argentina in about half an hour's time. We're there live to Buenos Aires with Liam Napier. And death diving. It's as scary as it sounds. So what drives the Kiwi who's just set a record? Flynn Chisholm explains the rush of jumping from 40 metres into the ocean. He's at the desk. Plus, Erica Stanford and Willie Jackson do battle in a couple of minutes' time. Here's Neva with news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Hopes more defence spending will be targeted locally after the government's $2.7 billion purchase of new aircraft. It's buying 2 new Airbus A321 planes in a lease-to-buy plan and 5 Lockheed Martin Seahawk helicopters. The aircraft will replace the Defence Force's ageing 757s and Sea Sprites. Defence consultant and former Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Nera says there's still around $9 billion to spend as part of the Defence Capability Plan.
I do hope that there's a lot of strength placed on New Zealand industry that can be part of this. We can't really afford to have all of that money heading offshore.
A rich lister wrongly accused by artificial intelligence of being a child sex offender is pushing for the real offender to be named. The defendant was sentenced in Auckland District Court last week for possessing and importing thousands of objectionable material files. He was placed on the child sex offender register but granted permanent name suppression. A chatbot on X stated the platform founder, Wayne Wright Jr., was at the centre of the case, which our newsroom can confirm is false. Wright urged the man to come forward with his identity and has written to X owner Elon Musk requesting he improve the chatbot. A decision will be made today on setting up an international police agency base in the Pacific. Interpol pitched the idea to police representatives from 22 Pacific Island nations at an annual conference in Waitangi yesterday. Police Commissioner Richard Chambers says a regional base would give us a stronger voice on the world stage. First home buyers are holding one of their strongest positions in the property market in 20 years. Cotality figures for July show first home buyers account for 27% of buying activity, well above their long-term average of up to 22%. Little has changed for owner-occupiers, and mortgage multiple property owners make up a quarter of transactions, in line with historical norms. Cotality Chief Property Economist Calvin Davidson says first home buyers are jumping on the lower property values and low deposit lending from banks. Belief in the benefits of a modern, accelerated land acquisition process. Parliament's pushed through changes to the Public Works Act, said to make it quicker for agencies to acquire land. Landowners will now receive up to $92,000 in recognition and a premium if they sell early. Infrastructure New Zealand Chief Executive Nick Leggett says the old system was cumbersome and costly. A hoppy paradise for beer lovers as New Zealand's biggest beer festival begins in the capital. Beervana is welcoming more than 12,000 people to Wellington Sky Stadium across today and tomorrow. 65 breweries from New Zealand, Australia and South Korea will set up shop around the stadium's concourse, pouring more than 350 beers.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
And in sport, Southland have beaten Bay of Plenty 30-25 in rugby's NPC at Rotorua to move to 7th on the ladder. Wing Corey Tall will debut and loose forward Fraser McWright will captain the Wallabies on Sunday in Cape Town as they attempt to win back-to-back tests away against the Springboks in the same series for the first time since 1963. The Rabbitohs have trounced the Dragons 40-0 in League's NRL. And Nick Kyrgios has pulled out of the US Tennis Open singles with injury for a third successive year.
It is 7:06. We've got the Chief of the Air Force on the show in just a few minutes and our political panel this morning. I know it's Friday. I know that I should be happy. I am happy. But I have had it with car parks so small you couldn't fit a shopping trolley in them. What exactly do they think we're driving these days? Go-karts? No. People are buying big cars, utes, station wagons, SUVs, and they're all hanging over the white lines to the side, or they're punching out the back onto the road. The Spin-Off wrote about this problem last week. The Civic in Auckland, if you know it, is one of the worst offenders. And yesterday I saw a pregnant woman trying to squeeze herself a handbag and her unborn child out of a sedan in a car park building. She was literally using the handbag as a shield to protect her belly from the car door. Are we trying to send these women into early labour? What's the deal? Apparently new cars are getting 1 centimetre wider every 2 years. People like bigger cars, but they also feel safer in them. And we're getting way more obese, literally can't fit into a Honda Civic anymore. That's also a problem. Side impact protection on new cars is taking up a lot of the extra space, I'm told. And are councils and Wilsons doing anything about this? No, they're not. What are we expected to do? Bend, fold, stretch like a ninja into our cars? Are they going to pay for the physio appointments? Should we take yoga classes? Colchester Council in the UK this year spent £1 million repainting white lines to make their car parks bigger. Good on them. The locals love it. The panel beaters must love what we're doing here. We need fewer parks and more room. So let's start a movement this morning in New Zealand. Let's stop this madness. Together we can help that pregnant woman. We can save our bad backs, our dicky knees, the elderly. Give me common sense and a bigger car park.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning, end of the working week, and it ends on a high, quite literally, with high pressure covering most of us today and tomorrow. There are a couple of features that will bring some showers to the northern half of the North Island, but it's dry for the lower south with morning cloud clearing and winds from the west or northwest. Maybe some valley cloud for inland spots. It's similar here with some morning cloud and morning frost. Chance of showers for Banks Peninsula, Westport and Kaikoura. It is a little cloudy around today for the lower north. Chance of showers too for most, although staying dry and fine for Taranaki with southeasterlies. It is another cool day here with a mix of fine and cloudy periods, a few showers too plaguing eastern spots with south to southwest winds. And the morning's looking good for the upper north, but cloud develops in the afternoon for Auckland with a couple of afternoon showers for Northland.
9 minutes after 7. The government's breakdown-prone 757s will be replaced with 2 extra long-range Airbus planes as part of a $2.7 billion defence investment. We're also getting 5 MH-60R Seahawk helicopters equipped with anti-submarine torpedo systems, Hellfire missiles and machine guns. Air Vice Marshal Darren Webb is Chief of Air Force and joins us from Wellington this morning. Morena, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good to see you. You guys are obviously very excited by this, and rightly so. Why have we picked, let's start with the Seahawks. Why those Seahawks?
Well, the Seahawks are really a combat-capable machine, which is perfectly designed for the job that we need them to do. So they will be out supporting the Naval Combat Force. They have systems on board which are able to detect, track, target, and if necessary, prosecute surface and subsurface targets. So we're really excited about what that's going to bring for our men and women of the Defence Force.
They were described to me this morning as sub-hunters. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I think that's a fair description. They're an extremely capable machine. They can fly off the back of all of our ships in our current Royal New Zealand Navy. But primarily they are in support of the frigate fleet, and they are there to protect and support whatever surface action group might be out there doing its task. It has great range, it has great speed and endurance, so it can get out ahead of the ships and protect and support those men and women.
Dumb question from me. There'll be plenty of them coming, don't worry. But so they are sub-hunters. They can detect submarine under the water. They can potentially fire at them. Can the submarines detect them and fire at them?
Primarily the submarine's role is to be hidden from any sort of surface view, so it's not in their interests to be caught, and so they will be taking evasive measures rather than offensive tactics. How
far can they fly? How far from the frigates can they go?
Yeah, so they can fly up to 1,000 kilometres, so that's a really good distance, and as importantly, they can also have up to 4 hours of endurance. And so a helicopter's role is quite variable. It might need to be out there with a dipping sonar, listening for submarines. It might need to be looking beyond the visual horizon, or indeed it might need to be moving people and cargo in an underslung load scenario. So extremely versatile machine, and we're really excited about when they arrive.
So a couple of those things you mentioned are things that a drone couldn't do. Will we add the drone capability later?
Yeah, exactly. I think the good word there would be complementary. So we need both. We need the helicopters to come first to replace the aging Sea Sprite, and then in a subsequent tranche, we will be looking at the drones or the uncrewed systems to follow.
And the planes, I've been on those 757s. They are a bit rickety. I mean, they do the job, but they are a bit rickety. So what is the range on them? What's the thinking with those?
Yeah, so the XLR is a new aircraft to market. I think around the world, people are putting great value on the ability to move great distances, and anybody who lives in New Zealand knows that that's a challenge that we face. And so we looked across all sorts of different types, and they really meet the needs of New Zealand Defence Force the best. So range, speed, payload, and when you bring those things together with a single aisle type aircraft, the XLR really stands out as the best in the market. As an example, we will be able to fly from New Zealand directly to Singapore in one go, and importantly for our missions to Antarctica, for the first time we'll be able to fly down there with what's called a no point of safe return issue. So up until this moment, at some stage in that journey, you reach a point where you can no longer safely get back to New Zealand, and the weather deteriorations can occur down there such that it's going to be far more safe for the crews and the passengers on board.
Yeah, I've been on that trip to Antarctica, and you do get a bit nervous around the halfway mark, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the $2.7 billion price tag, given that we're going through this, the American military route, are we getting value for money? I mean, do we know that?
We do. This is the foreign military sales process. It's exactly the same technique that we use to acquire the P-8 Poseidon and the C-130J. Essentially, it's a government-to-government relationship where we are able to leverage the scale of the US government to work on our behalf, and then they negotiate the deal with Lockheed Martin for us. So we are very confident that we will get the best price, and not only the best price, but the best timing as well.
Do you plan for operations like potential combat with these aircraft? And who are you fighting?
Yeah, combat capability is absolutely something that we need to think about as the Defence Force. Up until now, working in a defensive mode may be more traditional, but the world is changing, and we need the tools to safely protect our people and do our job, and that requires both offence and defence. And we're not shying away from that requirement, that's for sure.
Hey, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being with me. Air Vice Marshal Darren Webb, Chief of the Air Force in Wellington. Time now is 14 minutes after 7. Now, if you've got anything to say about the topics we're talking about this morning, flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. It is time for our Friday political panel. Nationals Erica Stanford, Labour's Willie Jackson at the desk with me. Good morning, team.
Morena.
Good to see you both. Hey, Erica, we had obviously movement from the Reserve Bank this week, 25 basis points. They've signalled maybe go down to 2.5%. It's going to take a while for this stuff to flow through. Are you worried about the runway? Because this is the election strategy, is getting the economy back on track. Hopefully we'll get voted back in. You worried about the runway here?
Well, of course, we always knew it was going to be tough. What COVID left us with was a really difficult problem we're having to dig our way out of. It was never going to take a short amount of time, but all the positive signs are there. I mean, there's been 2.5% knocked off the OCR in a year. Interest rates are down. There are going to be more money in people's pockets. It's slow going and people are still doing it tough. But the key is we have come so far by being careful managers of the economy. We can't put that at risk and go back to the profligate spending and taxing, which will make things worse again.
It must be hard for people watching this to swallow that when they know we've lost 16,000 jobs in the last 12 months, nearly 4,000 business liquidations in the last 18 months. Willie, do you guys accept that part of this was the response to COVID, then the Reserve Bank hiking the rates?
No, not at all. In fact, you've heard Chippy, and Chippy's spoken to you. We're very proud of our response in terms of COVID. We're very proud that we delivered and secured jobs for New Zealanders. We're very proud of the health response. We're proud of saving 20,000 jobs. This government talks about growth. There's no growth. All our people are going over to Australia. Where's the investment in infrastructure? Where's the investment in employment? Where's the investment in young people? There's no investment. There's no growth. It's zero growth from this government. And we're in a shocking position because of this government. The Reserve Bank's come in. Oh, yes, that's good. You know, the interest rates will go down and more people will be helped in terms of mortgages. That's good. But I'm in the Tamaki Makaurau electorate campaign at the moment. 75% of our people, they don't, this OCR cut means absolutely nothing to them. And what they're worried about is housing and employment and health. And this government is doing virtually nothing in those areas.
You say that there's no investment, Willie, but actually, and this is also a criticism of National, you are borrowing as much more than Grant Robertson
14 billion for tax cuts.
An extra $75 million a day we are borrowing in this country.
Right, very good.
So, you know, on the one hand, you've got those on the right of you saying, hey, cut it out. But then on the other hand, you've got this.
That's right.
Well, I think you can see
Voice of
Nicola
reason.
is finding a really good middle path, which isn't about austerity and it isn't about profligate spending and borrowing on the taxpayer's credit card, but a pragmatic way through the middle and it's tough. We've said that it's tough and we know that it's tough.
When
but
will
what
it not
we've
be
seen...
tough? When will it get better?
Well,
Never.
you can see the green shoots already. If you think back to when Labor left office, food inflation was 12.5%. That's, you know, if you want to talk about a record, that's what we were left with. If you look at all of the indicators, they're all down. Inflation is down, the OCR is down, interest rates are down. We are coming out of it. We cannot risk that by going back to exactly what we did before, I presume, because I don't actually have any answers or any policy, but we can guess it is going to be more taxes and more borrowing.
All right.
Now, those things lead to what we are in the middle of right now.
One more chance. 14 billion in terms of tax cuts, 300 million to their tobacco lobbyist mates, and 3 billion
We're
to
gonna raise taxes
3 billion,
again?
3 billion to
You got-
landlords.
You're gonna raise
They
taxes again?
invest
You got
in
some of
nothing.
those.
Tell you what's really bad,
Only their
You got
rich
some of those
mates.
tax cuts,
Only
haven't you?
their rich mates and tobacco lobbyists.
Hey,
they're a
did-
dis-
Is
they're
that
a
the latest
disgrace.
policy then? More
They're a-
taxes?
they're a-
Is that
no
it?
growth. Where's the growth? Growth.
We
and
did
nothing.
get some policy actually yesterday from
We did.
Labor, in a way, in a roundabout way.
Can we stay on
So-
the economy,
No,
please?
we're staying on you now, Willie. Tamaki Makaurau by-election. So Penny Henare is obviously up against Te Pāti Māori's Orini Kaipara. And yesterday, they were asked the question, will you reverse the gang patch ban? And Orini, of course, says, yes, I would. And Penny, he says, aye, which means yes. So,
You're doing your Māori classes.
So, of course. So he's saying that they will, but then Carmel Sepuloni comes out and says, no, we won't. So I want to know from you, Willie, do you personally feel the same way as Penny?
No, I don't. I'm on record as saying that. One of the great things with Labor is we encourage people sometimes to be free thinkers. Like Penny's a free thinker. You're in the middle of a hui. It was quite a hui, our hui the other night that I held at our marae. No, hold on. You asked me my view.
Yeah.
My view has always been I'm opposed to gang patches. I bar gang patches on my marae. But we're free thinkers. This is no big deal. Someone having an individual view. Ask Erica.
What spin?
Ask
What
her.
spin
Ask
is that?
her.
We're free thinkers.
Ask her
We
about
can't
David.
decide what our
Ask her
policy
about
is.
David Seymour,
So we'll just make it up.
who puts his own individual view out
Willie said-
all the time.
All right, so
who
let-
writes to the United Nations.
Erica
Ask
have
her
a go.
about Winston Peters
let
Hold
and
on.
ask her
Hold
about
on.
her Prime Minister.
Look, this is what
Individual views all the time.
Look, this is what happens when there is no policy. But the good thing about it is that at least we know what they really think.
No.
That we know that they don't want a gang patch. We know get banned. We know that they're soft on crime, and we know what we'll get with this government is back to what we had before, which is let's have a cup of tea and a cuddle with the gangs, which is exactly what happened before. If you believed in gang patches so much, why didn't you do it for 6 years?
And why'd you vote against it?
Exactly.
Well, do I get a chance here, or are you two just going to bully me in the studio? Come on,
Willie.
Now,
You
come
hold
on.
your own.
My view is well known in terms of gang patches. You've heard it before. I've banned them on the marae.
But it's your-
Labor policy is well clear. Penny was in the middle of a meeting. He's got a different view, and I'm really proud of his free thinking. This is what.
Does he have a different view on tax as well?
He's got an individual
What's his
view.
view on tax
He's
and
got
spend? Is
an
that
individual
different?
view,
Get it?
like David Seymour has different views to you on education. Like Winston Peters has different
But they're
views to the
different
government.
parties, Willie.
No. Well, within their own
Let's get
party,
Penny in and
they've
ask him
got
what
a
his view
different
on
view.
tax is.
Here's the
Maybe
thing:
it's not.
why he's so desperate on this?
Maybe it's not
Penny's going so well. well. I mean, the campaign's on fire.
He's doing well.
He's doing well.
All right.
So stop, putting him in a hole in the box.
We'll leave it there.
Proud
team.
of him.
Erica Stamford's got a plane.
Oh, we're finished.
Yeah, Erica's got a plane to get on.
It's all around Erica, isn't it?
Oh,
come on.
If you would shut up for 5 minutes, maybe we'd get some decent chatting. Willie Jackson.
Join the
and
national party.
Erica Stamford. It is 21
Kia ora.
minutes after 7. Thanks, team. Right, coming up next, I'll talk with a woman who was randomly attacked by a dog in a jewellery store. It's a shocking story. She's at the desk with me. And next, we're in Buenos Aires, where Herald Rugby reporter Liam Napier is waiting for the All Blacks team for the second test against Argentina to be named. That's happening in 9 minutes' time. You're on Herald Now.
Are you considering a DIY kitchen but just not sure if you can do it? Well, it's not as hard as you think. With You Do It DIY Kitchens, you're in safe hands. And the customer support team really know their stuff. After all, they design and manufacture everything here in New Zealand. You do it and you save money. So choose You Do It, the affordable DIY Kiwi kitchen with a great reputation. Visit newsroom.co.nz.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning.
Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, he's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
I'm Hayden Scott and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can have what she's having.
Welcome back, 23 after 7 now. The All Blacks team for the second test against Argentina is going to be named in about 7 minutes' time. Liam Napier, senior sports journalist for the Herald's in Buenos Aires, and joins us now. G'day, good to see you, Liam. You've been with the team this week. You've been watching them train. I'm sure you've been getting some insights. Who are you picking?
Hola, Ryan. Yes, exciting times. Interesting to see what team comes out. I'm expecting a debut for Chiefs loose forward Simon Parker. The All Blacks are very keen on Parker throughout the Super Rugby season, but he was injured late and wasn't available in July. He's since joined the Rugby Championship squad, and he's expected to be thrust into action this weekend for his debut. Elsewhere, Tamaiti Williams and Wallace Atiti are expected to return as well, probably off the bench. So largely continuity, but some big names and one new face coming into the squad.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing him too. This of the Chiefs Lucy you're talking about there. Big problem last week was, well, one of the problems was that, first 15 minutes of the second half. Have they been working hard on that?
Scott Robertson's a big stickler for discipline, Ryan, so he would have been a tough taskmaster this week at training. The All Blacks conceding, I think it was 7 second half penalties and 2 yellow cards. That was really costly in allowing the Pumas to storm back into that game, revive their local passionate crowd. So the All Blacks have certainly been working on that, as well as their attacking fluidity, which let them down a couple of times. They left a lot of points out there last week, despite scoring 6 tries.
Anything else new that you have seen in training this week?
There's a few changes, I guess, to bed in. Simon Parker hasn't played a lot in that loose forward trio. Tupu Vai is his teammate at the Chiefs, but Tupu Vai plays lock for the Chiefs, so that's a new combination along with Artie Severe at open side. So very much getting to grips with each other there and trying to get the best out of each other. But on the whole, it's it's a continuity theme, so there shouldn't be too many excuses for mistakes or any sort of setbacks. The All Blacks will be looking to take another step forward in their quest for this to regain the Rugby Championship title.
And Liam, 100th game for Cody Taylor. You've been speaking to him. What's he had to say?
He's a good Horowhenua boy, Cody. He's travelled from Levin to Christchurch to the All Blacks, and his wife's actually travelling over here to Buenos Aires this week to mark the occasion. Their 3 kids are at home, and Cody's parents couldn't make the trip, but yeah, very special occasion. I think he's the 14th All Black Centurion. The All Blacks have pictures of the other Centurions on their wall at their team hotel, and they'll be looking to win first and foremost, but also mark what is a very special occasion for the All Blacks hooker.
All right, Liam, we'll look forward to the announcement coming our way soon. We'll, of course, have details here at Herald Now. That's Liam Napier in Buenos Aires for us this morning. It is 27 after 7. From 2024 to 2025, so in the past year, nearly 3,000 dog attacks and more than 15,000 cases of roaming dogs have been reported. This is just in Auckland alone. And it's a story that Stacey Penn knows all too well. It was just another day at work for Stacey Penn when a rampaging pit bull attacked her, leaving both her shoulder and her career in tatters. Penn's now calling for more rigorous consequences for dog owners, and she joins us now to explain exactly what happened. Stacey, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
So this was last August.
It was, yep, last August.
That this happened. You were at work at the time.
Yep.
Tell us what happened.
I was at work at Michael Hood Jewellers in Pukekohe. A good client of mine came in with her little caboodle dog, Jessie. She came in, and as always, I went around the counter to have a little cuddle with her, massive dog lover. And a lady was coming around the roundabout, and her pit bull jumped out of a moving car, ran across a busy road and came in and attacked the dog. So I got between the dog and the 2 dogs and grabbed the pit bull by the scruff of the neck. It lunged again and tore the tendons from my shoulder.
So it's done your rotator cuff.
Yeah.
Painful?
Very painful. Horrible, horrible.
How long to heal?
It's been nearly a year to heal fully.
And it is healed now?
It is healed, yeah. Still doing a bit of physio, but it's still a bit painful.
When this happened, did the dog's owner obviously came in? What was their reaction like? What did they say?
She came in asking if we had a piece of rope that she could subdue her dog with, because it had jumped out of a car, so it didn't have a lead on, and then she was quite nonchalant. She apologised and left. So the owner of the dog that got attacked got in touch with the council, and they've simply given her an infringement notice.
How do you feel about the fact you can... It's a pit bull for a start, so we know that they can be, not all, but can be prone to aggression. Yeah. But driving around with the window down and then you get slapped with an infringement notice when, your life has been affected for a year.
Yeah, I think it's pretty horrible, really. That's all the council has offered. They haven't even come to me to ask how I am or if they can help me. It just all seems to be about the dog owner when she was the one in the wrong, yet everybody else has had to pay the price.
What price have you paid?
I've lost my 20-year career because I haven't been able to return to work, and unfortunately they've had to find a new worker. So at the moment, yeah, nothing I can do at the moment, so yeah.
Because the job involved lifting?
Yeah, I wasn't cleared in time for their time frame, which is very sad, so.
Do you think the dog should be put down?
Oh gosh, I'm such a dog lover. I'd hate to say that, but apparently this isn't the first instance that dog has been aggressive. So, I mean, I'm very thankful it was me and not a small child, because that would have really done a lot of damage. Not saying this dog would have run in and bitten a person, but a small child getting in the middle of a dog, attacking another dog, it's quite horrific to see. So I honestly don't know what they could do, apart from maybe put it down. So.
Do you, now that you were a year later, you've lost your job, you've only just healed your shoulder, do you regret jumping in and getting in the way?
Not really, no. It was just instinct, animal lover. And the owner of the little caboodle, Jessie, she'd just had surgery on her shoulder, so she couldn't do anything. So I just naturally intervened to protect the underdog. So paid the price, but no. I'm glad I did it. So,
what's your message to council? Because council says constantly, "Oh, we're getting on top of this problem. We're getting on top of this problem," and it's getting further and further out of control. Yeah. What's your message to Wayne Brown, who wants to be the mayor again, and to the government about this?
More education on these type of dogs. I know every type of dog can snap, but pit bulls just happen to have the muscular bodies and the not so much the temperament, but the means to do more damage. I also think there should be something in the works where maybe getting them spayed, because this dog was unspayed, so obviously had sexual aggression as well. Unspayed dogs are very territorial. They don't like to see any other dog as its competition. And just maybe if you are going to have that kind of dog, an extensive course on their behaviour and how to control it.
Have you managed to find new work, Stacey?
No, not as yet. I'm looking. I am looking.
Well, if anyone out there wants to hire Stacey, you're good for a job. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. That's Stacey Penn, who was the victim of this dog attack in August of last year. It is 29 away from 8. Here's Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Hopes more defence spending will be targeted locally after the government's $2.7 billion purchase of new aircraft. It's buying 2 new Airbus A321 planes in a lease-to-buy plan and 5 Lockheed Martin Seahawk helicopters. The aircraft will replace the Defence Force's ageing 757s and Sea Sprites. Defence consultant and former Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Nera says there's still around $9 billion to spend as part of the Defence Capability Plan.
I do hope that there's a lot of strength placed on New Zealand industry that can be part of this. We can't really afford to have all of that money heading offshore.
A rich lister wrongly accused by artificial intelligence of being a child sex offender is pushing for the real offender to be named. The defendant was sentenced in Auckland District Court last week for possessing and importing thousands of objectionable material files. He was placed on the child sex offender register but granted permanent name suppression. A chatbot on X stated the platform founder, Wayne Wright Jr., was at the centre of the case, which our newsroom can confirm is false. Wright urged the man to come forward with his identity and has written to X owner Elon Musk requesting he improve the chatbot. A decision will be made today on setting up an international police agency base in the Pacific. Interpol pitched the idea to police representatives from 22 Pacific Island nations at an annual conference in Waitangi yesterday. Police Commissioner Richard Chambers says a regional base would give us a stronger voice on the world stage. First home buyers are holding one of their strongest positions in the property market in 20 years. Cotality figures for July show first home buyers account for 27% of buying activity, well above their long-term average of up to 22%. Little has changed for owner-occupiers, and mortgage multiple property owners make up a quarter of transactions, in line with historical norms. Cotality Chief Property Economist Calvin Davidson says first home buyers are jumping on the lower property values and low deposit lending from banks. Belief in the benefits of a modern, accelerated land acquisition process. Parliament's pushed through changes to the Public Works Act, said to make it quicker for agencies to acquire land. Landowners will now receive up to $92,000 in recognition and a premium if they sell early. Infrastructure New Zealand Chief Executive Nick Leggett says the old system was cumbersome and costly. A hoppy paradise for beer lovers as New Zealand's biggest beer festival begins in the capital. Beervana is welcoming more than 12,000 people to Wellington Sky Stadium across today and tomorrow. 65 breweries from New Zealand, Australia and South Korea will set up shop around the stadium's concourse, pouring more than 350 beers.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Southland have beaten Bay of Plenty 30-25 in Rugby's NPC at Rotorua to move to 7th on the ladder. Wing Corey Tall will debut and loose forward Fraser McWright will captain the Wallabies on Sunday in Cape Town as they attempt to win back-to-back tests away against the Springboks in the same series for the first time since 1963. The Rabbitohs have trounced the Dragons 40-0 in League's NRL. And Nick Kyrgios has pulled out of the US Tennis Open singles with injury for a third successive year.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning, end of the working week, and it ends on a high, quite literally, with high pressure covering most of us today and tomorrow. There are a couple of features that will bring some showers to the northern half of the North Island, but it's dry for the lower south with morning cloud clearing and winds from the west or northwest. Maybe some valley cloud for inland spots. It's similar here with some morning cloud and morning frost. Chance of showers for Banks Peninsula, Westport and Kaikoura. It is a little cloudy around today for the lower north. Chance of showers too for most, although staying dry and fine for Taranaki with southeasterlies. It is another cool day here with a mix of fine and cloudy periods. A few showers too plaguing eastern spots with south to southwest winds. And the morning's looking good for the upper north, but cloud develops in the afternoon for Auckland with a couple of afternoon showers for Northland.
And you're watching Herald Now on your Friday morning. It is 24 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Time to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. There's a battle blowing up over who judges employment disputes after some spicy comments from Minister Brooke Van Velden, Garth Bray Business Desk. Hey Garth.
Morning, Ryan.
So this is over who's appointed, Brooke's appointed to the ERA?
Yeah, right. So there's quite a rollover happening. She's made 4 new appointments in the last week or so, and by the end of this term of Parliament, I think about 18 out of the 25 members of the Employment Relations Authority, that's like the first tier that you get to if there's a dispute over an employment contract, she will have appointed those. And she's basically come out and said, hey, look, we want people with more commercial experience, we want people from the corporate sector, from corporate law firms, because we think there are too many public sector appointees on there who they may believe money grows on trees, they're used to union bargaining, they expect an excellence of knowledge from the perspective of the employer, and we're going to put a stop to that, which the PSA, the biggest union in the country, 95,000 members, has come out and said, hang on, this is a judicial appointment. You can't be screwing the scrum like that. You've basically compromised the process by jumping in and saying that. Of course, her people are saying, look, she's just speaking her mind. And by the way, employers are fearful of going to the ERA because they're worried about the sort of treatment that they might get. This is just levelling the playing field. So an interesting spat, but one to watch for sure.
So they didn't have this problem necessarily with who was appointed, just what she said after the fact about how they should behave.
Maybe one is the other, right? It's like here's a way in to try and push it. It is pretty spicy language, considering a judicial appointment.
Yeah.
If you'd had Andrew Little saying, hey, we're going to have someone in there that's going to bash the bosses, I'm sure we'd all be talking about it.
Absolutely. Now, big week for earnings for our companies, both here and across the Tasman as well. Xero has had some interesting shareholder reaction.
Yeah, I mean, we still think of Xero as a Kiwi company. It is domiciled here, and I'll get to that, it's important, but they trade on the ASX, and they have a rule on the ASX that if you lose a shareholder vote twice, it puts your board up for the possibility of being rolled and changed over. And they had their first strike yesterday when shareholders, 48% of them, so nearly half, voted down the remuneration report because they're not happy that the CEO there, Sukhinder Singh Cassidy, got $26.1 million.
Yeah.
Pay packet and also a $24 million signing bonus for the CFO as well, if you don't mind. This is Australia. They are richer. They are paying at those kinds of levels. Now, the 2 strikes thing doesn't count, though, because Xero is Kiwi domiciled, so it's kind of slips out from underneath that rule that the ASX enforces.
I saw the story this morning and I thought, wow, that's a lot of money, isn't it? However, you look at the share price. So when this particular CEO took over, Xero's share price was 69 Australian dollars. Now it's 170 a share. So you think, well, you're probably worth it.
You're probably worth it, but interesting that they're sort of still feeling their metal there. Hey, look, back here, Fisher & Paykel, obviously our market darling, had its annual shareholder meeting yesterday. Our stock and trade on the column on the business desk takes a look at that because I mean, everybody's in awe of them. They are kind of the market. They're about 17% of the market, so they're hugely important for indexed funds. Their price basically dictates a lot of what the NZX index funds match. But they're trading, as our columnist points out, at a 58 multiple to earnings. That's like basically a huge number that compares it with NVIDIA in the States. I mean, they are NVIDIA. We've got somewhere about 25.
Well, that's a big call.
It's a huge call, right? They're the
biggest company in the world.
The price went up, I think, about 2% yesterday on the news that they said, hey, we're looking at sort of $1 billion worth of earnings for the first 6 months of next year. We're trading through the tariffs. We're finding ways around them, or what we sell, basically, we can price up. Great news, but it's still like, crikey, she's a big number. And there's maybe just a little bit of a hint of concern that they may be a little bit overpriced.
Now, the robo-taxis, we know this is a big deal in the US. A Kiwi founder is at the heart of at the heart of the business.
Yeah.
We've got some great news on that.
Yeah. So this is Neuro, which is Kiwi guy, Dave Ferguson, who basically went from being a law grad to getting involved in this extremely sophisticated company that they've created to sort of put the hardware and software into vehicles to basically make them self-driving. They, and it's a great little piece from Chris Keel in the Herald today about this, they have raised 346 million, that's Kiwi dollars, in its latest capital raise in the States, to give it a valuation of over 10 billion New Zealand dollars for this company. That NVIDIA, our old friends that we were just talking about, have piled money into too. They're saying, look, this is a huge addressable market. There's 100 million trips in the US every year are just sort of nipping down to the shops that this could replace. As someone who had to run down the road through choked streets to get takeaways last night, I can empathise with this.
Yeah, no, get them here quick. Thanks, Garth. Good to see you as always. Garth Bray, Business Desk, and we talk to Garth Business every day thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. It is 19 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Joining me now for an update on all things rural, Fed Farmers President Wayne Langford is here. Wayne, good morning.
Morning, Ryan. How's things?
Yeah, good to see you, Wayne. Tell us what's happening down on the farm.
Well, we're flat out in the middle of calving at the moment. We're about halfway through. I think most of the North Island's about 3/4 through and the South Island's about halfway through. So it's all go. If I could describe it to you, it's like when you have your first child. It's absolute madness. You know, you're all good until it happens, and then when it happens, it's absolute madness. And so most farms have got 300 or 400 of these babies on the way, and it's just about the case of getting through for the next 3 weeks or so, and then it all starts to settle down again.
And then you'll be home and hosed. Hey, what did you make of that Fonterra price guidance increase for the 26 season, 15 cents?
Yeah, we'll take 15 cents. That's a very positive result. And particularly with a bit of unsettled dynamics around the world at the moment, to have that kind of confidence so early in the season, that's a good result. And I know it feels like it's just coming to farmers, but it really isn't. You know, that's when that kind of extra money comes in on top, that goes straight back into purchasing new things on farm and to buying into replacing capital and that sort of thing. So that's the builders, the tradies. The machine salesmen, the motorbike salesmen, they'll all get amongst it and get a part of it, which is great.
And the sales book, Fonterra says, is good. The price is still good. We saw the global dairy trade auction dip slightly this week, of course, but whole milk powder was up ever so slightly. What's the biggest worry? Is it just the exchange rate?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the biggest worry is, hey, something needs to happen here. And at the moment, everything's probably looking relatively good. So the worry is what's going to come to unsettle it probably is the question. But let's hope it can stay strong. We're a long way away from next October, which is when we get our final payment for this season. And so it is a long way away. But all things leading to it are pretty strong right now.
Hey, Joseph Mooney's climate amendment bill, you're backing it. Why?
I mean, it's really it's coming from quite a green movement, and it seems to be quite an attack on agriculture. To be fair, particularly when targeting Fonterra and New Zealand Dairy Holdings, which is one of New Zealand's largest dairy farms. So we're certainly backing it. It's there's already regulation in place for this and these businesses need to have confidence that they can invest in what they're doing and invest in their businesses without having to be worried about being tied up in endless litigation from people on the ground.
Wayne, have a great day, mate. We'll let you get back to it. Wayne Langford, Fed Farmers President.
Yes, mate.
It is 16 minutes away from 8. Now, for a look ahead at this weekend's weather. Hasn't been the most settled week, so what's in store for us? Met Service Head of News, Heather Keats, is here. Hey, Heather.
Hi, Ryan.
What can we expect?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I've been in Wellington all week and my goodness, it was rubbish weather. So they'll be very happy to see that there's some nice, calm, settled, sunny weather on the way. Cold's probably the theme again. Nothing too much going on today. We're going to see some showers bubbling up for Northland later on today, maybe spots like Kaikoura, Banks Peninsula, and you can expect Hawke's Bay and Gisborne again to get some showers. But then the weekend, it's mostly high pressure, which is nice. There is, though, a but to that, and that'll be for the Coromandel Peninsula and for Bay of Plenty. If there are any watches or warnings that get issued this weekend, it'll be for those areas, especially the eastern side of the Coromandel Peninsula, that can expect maybe even some thunderstorms. There's a trough kind of sitting over there, so it's kind of unpredictable as to how much rain and when, but especially for places like Tauranga. You can expect that from the second half of tomorrow. But for the main centres, not bad. Auckland's pretty good. Couple of showers on Sunday, maybe. Wellington, a beautiful weekend, especially on Sunday. Best place to be, I reckon, is going to be Christchurch. A bit cold, but it's going to be nice and fine.
Temp-wise, how are we looking? Are we going to get frosty?
Yeah, so this morning was cold. Places like Auckland can expect it to be even colder tomorrow morning. There'll definitely be frost for sheltered spots there. Most of the country is looking at quite a chilly weekend. The North Island, especially for the overnight temperatures, will be below average. Places tonight like Levin and Paraparaumu will drop down to -1. But that's the weekend. Things rebound to normal Monday and Tuesday, and then it takes a turn. We're definitely going to have warmer weather on the way.
Great. Season-wise, coming to the end of winter, obviously, heading into spring, fantastic. Good news?
No, absolutely not. No, Monday, Tuesday, okay. It looks really unsettled from about Wednesday next week. The flow changes to a nor'westerly flow, so we're definitely going to have warmer weather, much higher temperatures. We get that Fern effect again in the South Island, so places like Christchurch, the Canterbury High Country, you know, we're looking at temperatures about 18, 19 degrees for Christchurch late next week. But no, it looks really ropey for a few days.
Okay.
Widespread rain, probably gales, a really rough end to winter, a rough start to spring, and my recommendation is to enjoy this weekend, because next weekend ain't looking that great.
Okay, at least you're honest. That's what we like you for, Heather. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Heather Keats, Met Service, and that's your forecast for the weekend ahead. And the season ahead, 14 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Oh, a very happy birthday, very quickly, to Ethel Caterham. Who's Ethel Caterham? Oldest person in the world. She has turned 116 today. Happy birthday to Ethel. Lives in the UK, born on the 21st of August 1909, so that means 5 years prior to the start of the First World War. So she's old. But she's happy, and she's got her family around her, and she's having a great time. And the first question you want to ask is, diet, exercise, genes, what is it? She's not telling. She doesn't want to be interviewed by any media. She wants to enjoy her day and celebrate with her family. So good on you, Ethel. Happy birthday. Interestingly, they're all women. The oldest living people on the planet are more often than not, women. Last one was a nun in Brazil. May she rest in peace. Oldest ever was a French woman who lived to the ripe old age of 122. It is 12 minutes away from 8. Next, the paddle that didn't go to plan and the dramatic rescue on the Tongariro River. And then after 8 o'clock, death diving. Kiwi champion Flynn Chisholm is in the studio to tell us what it is like to jump off a cliff 40 metres above the ocean and come out to tell the tale.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience, just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
We've done few subdivisions with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Welcome back. You're on Herald Now for your Friday morning. It's just gone 10 away from 8. The All Blacks selections have been named. We just checked in with Liam Napier. Well, we have the list. The selectors have named their team for the second test against Argentina in Buenos Aires Sunday morning. There's only one change to the starting lineup team. That is the Chiefs loose forward Simon Parker making his test debut at number 8. Elsewhere, Cody Taylor will play his 100th test, becoming the 15th All Black Centurion. Billy Proctor keeps his place at centre. Rieko Ioane stays on the left wing. There are 4 changes to the bench. Star loose forward Wallace Satiti is back from injury, and so is prop Tamaiti Williams, which is great. Expect them both to play a big part in the second half of this game. Josh Lord is the lock reserve. Quinn Tupaia is midfield back cover. So 5 changes, 4 on the bench, and Simon Parker will make his first test debut at number 8. It is 9 minutes away from 8 now. Alive or dead? That's the terrifying question Taupō resident Michaela Bevan faced for 5 hours while her husband was missing somewhere on the Tongariro River. Annabelle Reid is the Rotorua reporter, been covering this story for us this morning. Annabelle, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. Gosh, what an ordeal for the wife.
Oh, I know. Her stress levels were just through the roof, she said. Yeah, a loved one missing. I don't think anyone really wants to go through that kind of thing.
So what happened?
Well, basically, the Beavens, they're Taupō locals. So they were off on a family trip because their grandson was playing in Turangi. So Mike Bevan was like, perfect opportunity. I'm going to go for a nice, fun kayak down the Tongariro. He's a pretty experienced kayaker, has been doing it over for like 40 years. So he was like, I haven't done a Tongariro in a while. Perfect opportunity. I'm heading out there. So his wife, Michaela, dropped him off at about 10:30 in the morning. It was meant to be about a 3-hour kayak on a grade 3 river, which for Mike was pretty easy. And yeah, he said the first 2 hours in were super enjoyable. He was having a blast. But then he was, about 2.5 hours in, and it was what he called a minor rapid that sort of just led to a whole lot of events that took him off course, basically. And he was facing strong white rapids and navigating himself up over like slippery rocks, and then his kayak got stuck on a rock, forcing him to get out because he was completely off course and he'd lost control. But yeah, he got out of his kayak, got his paddle, and then his kayak zoomed away down the river, his phone in the kayak too. And Mike actually started chasing his kayak. He tried to get it back, but he was losing the race, as he said, and decided to stop. And then he thought about swimming back up the river or walking along the bank, but he just felt it was too dangerous. So he parked himself up on a beach on the riverbank, put himself in sight, so hoping that like a raft or rescuers would be able to see him. And then, no one was really coming. So he started getting pretty cold. So he set up a shelter. He started cocooning himself. It was getting dark. It was getting scary. He was sort of thinking, I might be in for a pretty long night. And all these thoughts were going through his head about what his family's going through, all that sort of grief. And his family was going through it. His wife, Michaela, was freaking out. She said it was like an emotional disaster. She was expecting Mike at about 1 p.m. and he just kept on not showing up. And then it got to about 4 p.m. They called, she was with her daughter, and they called the police. The police were like, she's not quite missing yet. That's what Michaela said. And then at 5 p.m. she called again, and she was like, hey, my husband's a good kayaker. This is not like him. He's missing. And that's when rescue crews sort of
thank goodness.
started their mission.
They got into action and managed to rescue him off the side of the riverbank. Very quickly, Annabelle, why didn't he have a locator beacon with him?
Well, he's just never thought about it, to be honest. It hadn't crossed his mind. He was like back in the 70s, we had nothing. We didn't have any of those sort of devices. So I just don't think it ever crossed his mind to have something like that on him. But he's definitely doing his research now after that shake-up.
I bet he is. And thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be a bit of peace of mind for Michaela, his wife, as well. Annabelle, thank you for that. Annabelle Reid, our Rotorua reporter. Time now 4 to 8. The Mayor of Tasman, Tim King, says the planned closure of the Eve Valley sawmill will have a huge impact on the region. Carter Holt-Harvey wants to close the mill and consolidate in the Bay of Plenty, which will mean the loss of more than 140 jobs for the region. King used to live right next door to the mill and says it plays a huge part in the local economy.
I feel incredibly sad. As a neighbour, I've lived here my whole life. I've lived here, grew up here before the mill was built. I remember the debate over building it in the first place. I watched it being built, the road being shifted, the river being shifted. And then for the last 40 years, I've driven up and down this road. I know lots of people have worked here over time and work here now. It's incredibly sad to think that this vibrant, busy, productive site is not going to be doing anything post-November this year. So, yeah, I've got really mixed feelings about. I understand the rationale, I understand the drive for efficiency and productivity, but the impact on this community and particularly on the people who work here is, it's huge. So the most important and immediate consequences are the loss of jobs for the 142 people who have worked here. Many of those have worked here for some considerable time. I think there's at least one employee who's worked here since the day this mill opened. So that is the biggest single consequence and most immediate one. From the understanding of the rationale about why this decision has been made, I don't think there's anything that I can do or the council can do to change that. We have a role obviously as mayors to advocate strongly for central government support for the staff who are affected, and we'll be doing that to make sure that they get all the support they can for the period immediately post the potential closure, and then obviously to assist them with finding other work and jobs if that's possible. So the forestry companies, forest owners and harvesting companies will have to determine what they do with the logs that will no longer be able to be processed here. Some of that may be exported, it may go to other mills in the region, but there is going to be a significant gap in the market for some of the higher value timber.
Yeah, very sad news to hear about that. Although it's more to do with rationalisation. It's to do with those 140 jobs. Obviously, they will be lost, but there will be more created, they are hoping, in the Bay of Plenty where that production is going to move to. Time now is coming up to 8 o'clock. Now, we've got your chance to win a trip to Japan thanks to the New Zealand Herald and Inspiring Vacations. This is a once-in-a-lifetime prize. It includes return flights, accommodation, guided tours. It's for 2 people. Value is more than $14,000. All you've got to do is register on the New Zealand Herald win page by 5 p.m. September 3rd. So don't miss your chance for the trip of a lifetime to beautiful Japan with the New Zealand Herald and Inspiring Vacations. As always, of course, T's and C's apply. Very quickly, last year we told you, well, you would have heard and seen in the news about the case of Donald Trump basically fudging or padding his financials. This was to insurers and banks. He either want to borrow money or get insurance, and he's saying, don't worry, I'm worth all this money. And then a court in New York ruled, no, you're not. You're padding, you're adding a bit of GST to your net wealth. He was hit with a penalty, which is a phenomenal sum of money, especially if they thought he wasn't as rich as he said he was. $355 million plus interest today, that is worth $500 million. So until this court decision, which came out overnight, Trump was owing $500 million to the state, to the court in New York. Now, the appeals court has found actually that was completely excessive. They have kept the decision but removed the fine in total. So he doesn't have to pay anything, although that can also be appealed. And they've cited the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which basically says, it tries to restrict the power of the government to fine people or restrict how much bail, the amount that they can put up for bail as well. And the idea is that the punishment, whatever a court decides, should actually fit the crime. And in this case, the judge says, nah, it didn't. Here's Neva with the rest of the morning's headline. We'll get to her in a second, I should say. Right now, it is 8 o'clock. Good morning, welcome to Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. It is Friday the 22nd of August. On the show this hour, from Bluff to Cape Danga, taking the pulse of New Zealand's heartland, Herald editor-at-large Shane Curry is on the road for his annual road trip. We'll check in with him. And Armageddon, the celebration of cosplay and pop culture, is heading into its 30th year. There are some big names set to be announced, and we've got one of the organisers here after 8:30. Then death diving. It's as scary as it sounds and looks. So what drives the Kiwi who's just set a world record? First, here is Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Hopes more defence spending will be targeted locally after the government's $2.7 billion purchase of new aircraft. It's buying 2 new Airbus A321 planes in a lease-to-buy plan and 5 Lockheed Martin Seahawk helicopters. The aircraft will replace the Defence Force's ageing 757s and Sea Sprites. Defence consultant and former Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Nera says there's still around $9 billion to spend as part of the Defence Capability Plan.
I do hope that there's a lot of strength placed on New Zealand industry that can be part of this. We can't really afford to have all of that money heading offshore.
A rich lister wrongly accused by artificial intelligence of being a child sex offender is pushing for the real offender to be named. The defendant was sentenced in Auckland District Court last week for possessing and importing thousands of objectionable material files. He was placed on the child sex offender register but granted permanent name suppression. A chatbot on X stated the platform founder, Wayne Wright Jr., was at the centre of the case, which our newsroom can confirm is false. Wright urged the man to come forward with his identity and has written to X owner Elon Musk requesting he improve the chatbot. A decision will be made today on setting up an international police agency base in the Pacific. Interpol pitched the idea to police representatives from 22 Pacific Island nations at an annual conference in Waitangi yesterday. Police Commissioner Richard Chambers says a regional base would give us a stronger voice on the world stage. First home buyers are holding one of their strongest positions in the property market in 20 years. Cotality figures for July show first home buyers account for 27% of buying activity, well above their long-term average of up to 22%. Little has changed for owner-occupiers, and mortgage multiple property owners make up a quarter of transactions, in line with historical norms. Cotality Chief Property Economist Calvin Davidson says first home buyers are jumping on the lower property values and low deposit lending from banks. Belief in the benefits of a modern, accelerated land acquisition process. Parliament's pushed through changes to the Public Works Act, said to make it quicker for agencies to acquire land. Landowners will now receive up to $92,000 in recognition and a premium if they sell early. Infrastructure New Zealand Chief Executive Nick Leggett says the old system was cumbersome and costly. A hoppy paradise for beer lovers as New Zealand's biggest beer festival begins in the capital. Beervana is welcoming more than 12,000 people to Wellington Sky Stadium across today and tomorrow. 65 breweries from New Zealand, Australia and South Korea will set up shop around the stadium's concourse, pouring more than 350 beers.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Southland have beaten Bay of Plenty 30-25 in Rugby's NPC at Rotorua to move to 7th on the ladder. Wing Corey Tall will debut and loose forward Fraser McWright will captain the Wallabies on Sunday in Cape Town as they attempt to win back-to-back tests away against the Springboks in the same series for the first time since 1963. The Rabbitohs have trounced the Dragons 40-0 in League's NRL. And Nick Kyrgios has pulled out of the US Tennis Open singles with injury for a third successive year.
You're watching Herald Now this morning. With the OCR moving this week, we know the economy's been in the headlines. Both Labor and National made big promises at the 2020 for Labor and 2023 elections for National. They promised us they'd create new jobs. They promised they would grow the economy. Here are some facts for you this morning. Truth bomb, spoiler alert. 16,000 Kiwis lost their job in this country in the past 12 months. That's a big number. That affects 16,000 Kiwi families. In the past 18 months, we lost 3,770 businesses. That affects many more, all of the workers. Think about that. 3,770 businesses went bust in this country in the last 18 months. And we're now on track for the highest number of company liquidations in more than a decade. So you might think, well, that's bad. What's happening with their spending? Well, Treasury published financial statements in May showing net core crown debt, that's how much we owe, $182 billion. Ain't that a big number? That is 42.6% of GDP. That is more than double what we owed in 2017, which is why Nicola Willis has been off to London asking for good deals. Now, according to the Taxpayers Union, the debt clock, government debt is growing still today under National by $75 million every single day. So we got jobs lost, we got liquidations up, and we got more debt. Politicians blame COVID, they blame global factors, and of course, they blame each other. The question is, why make promises you can't keep? We all know that the world has its challenges. We all know the world changes and there will be shocks. But they ought to put some kind of T's and C's on their promises when they make them, right? If a business sold you this product, they'd be dragged through the courts. Here's weather.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning, end of the working week, and it ends on a high, quite literally, with high pressure covering most of us today and tomorrow. There are a couple of features that will bring some showers to the northern half of the North Island, but it's dry for the lower south with morning cloud clearing and winds from the west or northwest. Maybe some valley cloud for inland spots. It's similar here with some morning cloud and morning frost. Chance of showers for Banks Peninsula, Westport and Kaikoura. It is a little cloudy around today for the lower north, chance of showers too for most, although staying dry and fine for Taranaki with southeasterlies. It is another cool day here with a mix of fine and cloudy periods, a few showers too plaguing eastern spots with south to southwest winds. And the morning's looking good for the upper north, but cloud develops in the afternoon for Auckland with a couple of afternoon showers for Northland.
You're watching Herald Now on your Friday morning, 8 after 8. How often do you miss your appointments or cancel at the last minute? For those working in hair, beauty, fitness, health, this is a huge pain in the butt, cost your businesses time and money. And now, Mount Maunganui hairdresser Alicia Sanson has found a solution. She's launched Got a Gap, where the business can list dropped appointments at a cheaper rate. And she's with me now to explain it, because I think it sounds like a great idea. Hey, good morning, Alicia.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on. All right, what are some of the worst excuses you've had from people pulling out at the last minute?
Just something's come up with kids, they've forgotten about another appointment somewhere. It's sort of never ending, but it's forever frustrating when you go to work one day and you're told you're not going to earn what you thought you were going to that day.
How often does it happen? Does it have a big impact on your bottom line?
Yeah, across Australia and New Zealand, 1 in 5 appointments will be rescheduled or cancelled within 48 hours of the appointment. So if you look at that as like a $300 colour appointment every week, salons and small businesses can lose $15,500 every year, which is a huge amount of money to lose for a sole trader.
It's massive. Now, I know, because I have done this myself, but there's an app that I do my appointments through to keep this thing looking as good as it does, Alicia. But if I cancel, and I think it's 24 hours, anything less than 24 hours, I'll have to pay the full amount. They've got my credit card number. What is, do you think, to be courteous, what is a decent amount of time that you should give a salon like yourself in order to prepare for that?
Look, things come up for sure. And I think 24 hours, like, that's helpful. You've got 24 hours to try and fill the appointment or the gap. But I think it's still really hard to fill that slot. And I think, so with Got a Gap, it widens your audience, because for me, I could only advertise my slots on Instagram to an audience I already have. So Got a Gap sort of widens the capacity to try and get a bigger clientele and even retain the clientele. So it's sort of a way that evens the playing field with franchises and small businesses to have a broader audience.
I think this is such a great idea. Do you offer, like, if it's a last minute thing, someone pulls out, I don't know, 4 hours before, can people offer deals, discounts?
Yes, so most of Got a Gap is deals. It doesn't have to be, but there's been $20 blow waves. There's all sorts of things. There's $5 waxing. I think making some money is better than making no money. And I mean, just spreading awareness about your business is huge, right?
That sounds like a good deal, but what would a $20 blow wave, what would a blow wave normally be?
60, and well,
Okay.
Mount Maunganui about $60. I mean, I'm sure in Auckland it's more.
Probably, everything is. And what about what's a $5 wax mean? That's a good deal?
Well, I think they're about 50.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just getting new clients, isn't it? It's trying to getting people to talk about it. So if someone can recommend you off a service, then that's the best sort of advertising you can have.
And also, Alicia, you'll get people coming in who maybe haven't used your store before, been to your store before, and then hopefully you can, turn them into new business.
100%. And then, I mean, everyone has products you can upsell to them. Often they feel bad for getting those sort of deals, so they're going to buy up. So hopefully you can sort of turn that $5 deal or a $20 deal into a bigger sale.
Where is the app at, and have you had much interest?
Yes, so currently it's a website. In the future, we obviously plan to move into an app. At the moment, we've got 219 businesses signed on and listing across New Zealand. We're 6 months old, so we launched in February, and hopefully it's just going to keep going up from here.
Well, good on you, Alicia. I think it's a fantastic idea and hope that it takes off. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you so much.
It's Alicia Sanson with us, Mount Maunganui hairdresser, and has the website Got a Gap. Right, a man from Tauranga has set the New Zealand record for death diving. Flynn Chisholm recently dove from the height of 40 metres, that is, roughly as tall as a 12-storey building, which is just under 9 metres shy of the world record. Flynn Chisholm, competitive speed climber and death diver, is with us at the desk this morning. Flynn, good morning.
Good morning, thank you for having me on.
Great to have you here. What is it like doing that?
It's pretty intense, I'd say. Like the transition from being with so much fear, like climbing up the cliff and then looking down, throwing your rocks and then finally jumping, like all that fear goes away, and as soon as you've hit the water, you just complete peace, I feel like. Yeah.
Peace?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like the joy and just realization of what you've just done is just amazing.
So you climb, is part of the thing climbing the rocks first?
Usually just like walking to the top. There's not much climbing involved, I'd say.
And then you throw a rock off the top, do you?
Yeah, that's all for visualization, like not to break the water or anything. It's just like I'll fall at the same speed as the rock, so it'll show me how long I'll be in the air for.
How long are you in the air for?
So for 40 metres, it's like 2.9 seconds, roughly. So not as long as you would think.
When you first started doing it, does time slow down, like in a car crash? And do you get used to that and it goes in an instant? What's it feel like?
Yeah, from the start, being in the air, it felt like a long time. But as I progressed through the heights, it all goes way quicker, like now, I'd say.
Your arms, is it hard to control the arms? Because I see there's a little bit of flailing, and I know when I've tried to dive off a diving board, that's my reaction. Is it hard to control your body when you're doing this?
Yeah, it depends on tricks, and like for the records that I set, I just do a classic. So no tricks, but just in the air, belly first, and then from big heights, if you don't control yourself, you're just going to lean further forward and expose your back and spine. So,
what happens then?
I've had a few mates who've like broken vertebrae and compressed their spine. So, yeah, if you're not prepared for the jump, it's it can end pretty bad.
Why not break the water first? Is that cheating?
Yeah, in my opinion it is. Like if you jump into a waterfall as well, like the water's way more broken up. So I think to set a record, you shouldn't do it into white water, but like for fun and stuff, like jumping into waterfalls is amazing, jumping next to them, super scenic, but for records, I don't believe it should count. Why
are you doing a staple thing at the end?
So that's the sport I compete in, which is depth diving, Duds diving, which came from Norway, and I was on the World Cup circuit this year, and that's where we do flips and tricks off the tower into the Dodds position, which is a staple. And yes, it's a different discipline of diving.
Is there a safer way to do it, to be landing in a staple like that, or?
I wouldn't say safer, but if you know the technique, it doesn't hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've never been hurt doing this?
Oh, I have, but
What have you done?
I've had a few concussions. I've like blown up my eardrum. That was probably the worst one. Recently in Norway, my pupil sizes changed. Like one was bigger than the other. And that was a bit scary. But there was nothing to do with my brain. It was just my eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Your parents happy?
Yeah, I think so. No, my dad, he loves it, but he doesn't like watching, so, which is fair. It's fair enough.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It is, because I mean, it's not natural, is it?
No, and then in person, like the cliffs always look bigger, like everything just looks way more gnarly in person.
Do you, when you're standing at the top, because I'm imagining you got to go with confidence, right? Once you're into it, you're into it, you got to do it. If you hesitate, it could actually be more dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So how do you, have you ever been at the top and second guessed and not jumped?
No. Maybe with weather conditions. Usually, like with a big jump above 30 metres, I've committed myself a week prior. So that's when the mental prep starts. Like I take it really seriously, so from a week prior, I'm always like visualising. I would have seen the jump probably and made my safety plan.
Why is it called death diving? Have people died?
I haven't heard of someone dying from death diving because it's such a weird position to enter the water. Like I know people have like died normal cliff jumping, like trying to land on their feet, but they're just not experienced at all. But death diving, you're actually trying to train and practice, so no one's gonna go do something reckless, I'd say.
Is this a career? You can get paid doing this, you can make a living doing this?
Yep, so I'm trying to gather up some sponsors. I've got a project that I'm planning in December where I'm trying to find a big brand to pay me to go potentially higher. And yeah, I'd love to jump for a living. That's the big goal.
What else do you do apart from jumping?
So I do speed climbing as well. I just came back from China competing at the World Games, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years as well. Training speed climbing, so I like going up fast and descending fast as well.
Do you ever do anything slowly?
I'm not sure. Maybe yeah.
Do you know where this came from? Because you're obviously a bit of a thrill seeker. You like to have a challenge and you like to set a goal. Where did that come from?
I don't know. As soon as like COVID was over, I wanted to do something new because before that I played footy, basketball, hockey. I was just a team sport man, and since COVID I wanted to find something else. Yeah, so adrenaline sports is where it's at now.
Well, you certainly got the adrenaline going this morning, Flynn. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Thank you.
Good luck with the jumping and good luck with the sponsor. Thanks. Flynn Chisholm, competitive speed climber and death diver. It is 19 minutes after 8. You're watching Herald Now. Next, our panel is here to take us through the big stories of the day. We'll see if they can jump off the desk. Then Herald editor-at-large Shane Curry really is at large this morning. He's driving from Bluff all the way to the top of the north, taking the pulse of the nation. He shares that with us shortly.
Are you considering a DIY kitchen but just not sure if you can do it? Well, it's not as hard as you think. With You Do It DIY Kitchens, you're in safe hands. And the customer support team really know their stuff. After all, they design and manufacture everything here in New Zealand. You do it and you save money. So choose You Do It, the affordable DIY Kiwi kitchen with a great reputation. Visit newsroom.co.nz.
A lot of of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning.
Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, he's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
I'm Hayden Scott and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Welcome back. It is 21 minutes after 8 now. We'll get Shane Curry on the road shortly. First, let's get to our panel. Dilipa Fonseca, Business Desk Senior Reporter at the desk this morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Along with Josie Pagani, Child Fund New Zealand Chief Executive. Morning, Josie.
Morning.
Good to see you both. Well, actually, we'll start with our young diver here who, oh man, did you have a hard time watching that?
Oh, as a mother, yeah, I worry. My kids are in their 20s. I phone them up to say, look both ways when you cross the road. The idea that they jump off a cliff, I mean, you know, they're idiots anyway, but it's just terrifying.
Fascinating what he was saying about basically planning a week ahead, like committing to the dive a week ahead so that he didn't hesitate when he's on the top of the cliff.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing with these things is you often forget the amount of preparation. I mean, yeah, he did the, 40 metres?
Yes.
The 40 metre, but, you know, before that he would have had to do like a whole bunch of probably 30 metre, you know, things leading up to it. So, you know, as much as, and I don't know how much more, you know, the extra danger factor would have been for this last one compared to, you know, all the practices he probably did, you know? That's
true. There's some crazy Guinness records, right? I was looking at them today, and they're all things like, it's like the 7 sins, you know, the gluttony, eating hot dogs on Coney Island, breaking a Guinness record. There was one about the most pins in your body. Like, why would people, or the most tattoos in 24 hours? That was another one.
Oh.
It's kind of weird. The longest beard.
Oh, I was going to say I'd eat the food, but the beard one probably sounds the easiest.
Would you really eat like hundreds of Coney sausages?
I'd rather eat 100
dogs?
Coney sausages than have pins in my body or jump off a cliff.
True. It's a bit like would I rather be deaf or blind? It's sort of one of those things. I don't want to do any of it.
Everybody's got their limit that they feel that they have the perfect genetic ability to be able to push, and obviously diving is not any one of the three of ours.
No, we've got other skills.
It's hard enough. It's hard enough off the side of a pool, let alone off a cliff. Hey, we've had a big announcement from Defence Minister Judith Collins, and Winston Peters was there yesterday too. This is $2.7 billion going towards 5 new Sea Sprites, 2 new Airbuses. They had 757s need replacing. Dilipa, what did you make of that announcement?
I mean, it's good. We all know that defence spending is that we need to spend more on defence. But I think what that announcement shows is, you know, it's easy to spend. It's actually quite easy to spend 2.7 billion, and it may even be easy to spend 9 billion over 4 years. But the question is that we'll have to reckon with is how we're spending the money. Are we getting the value? Because I think some of the SH2 sort of Sea Sprites, when they were taken out of the US Navy in 2001. But they're kind of new to us because we took them in 2015, kind of refurbished and things. But soon afterwards, we discovered, what happens when you take an old, kind of aging helicopter is it might be fine to fly, but you still need the parts. So we had 8 of them. I think we took 3 of them out for parts. So we had 5. And I think that can show you how procurement can sort of be problematic because effectively, what is it? This will be like 11 years of use.
Yes.
And they're already, really, really aging. And so actually we've got to be very careful. I think we've got to look for value for money as well. And we've got to properly weigh this up because it's actually possible to spend a lot of money on this stuff
and not get much.
Exactly.
And then have to keep paying for the maintenance too.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you've got echoes of the Inter-Island ferry. But I mean, you're right. We do need to spend more on defence, and this is something that, the 12 million that the government announced is the right thing to do. I think, strategically, have we made a decision as to whether or not we're focused on our own security, i.e. keeping ourselves safe, or are we planning to be part of some coordinated collective defence of, rules of the law and rules of law and democracy and so on? And I think that's a really strategic decision, because we may be saying, we're looking after our own defence, but that's not what we've done in the past. We didn't do that in the Second World War. We were part of a defence against fascism, right? So I wonder whether we've really thought about either how we fit into that and which side we'd be on, or whether we're looking at just our own defence, in which case, we're a small country. I mean, it's interesting that they're trying to align, I think, with what Australia's spending on, where they're putting their defence spending. But I do think that's a strategic question. The other issue is, we've got to make sure we spend that defence money not by cutting things like aid. And I say that not just as someone who works in the aid sector, but the biggest defenders of aid budgets in the US are the US Defence Force, because they know that if you have multiple fragile states where you're getting, Al-Qaeda being hosted in places like Afghanistan, they're saying, look, we've got about 11 Afghanistans emerging right now.
Yeah.
So aid is part of preventing that.
They always say what you don't spend on aid, you end up spending on defence.
Exactly.
Just to finish this morning, cars and car parks. I don't know, there was a piece in the Spin-Off about this a couple of days, or about a week ago, which I read, and yesterday I noticed this poor pregnant lady getting out of her car, and she had a handbag. She's obviously pregnant, she had a handbag, and the car parks we think the car parks are getting smaller, but actually the cars are getting bigger. And she's trying to get out of the car, and she's using her handbag as like a shield for her belly just to get out of the car. This idea that cars are getting bigger, but actually the car parks aren't really accommodating that anymore. Do you notice this? Is this a thing?
Well, very well might be the thing. I mean, I actually noticed it a little bit, but I think what it just goes to show is actually urban land space is always at a premium, and it's always rising. And so, I think in 2011, the price of kind of central Auckland land was something like $700 or $800 per square metre, and by 2018 it's, I think, something like $3,000 per square metre. And so, if you're owning a car park and you can move that line a little bit in and squeeze in a few extra car park, that's a few extra thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars.
You know what extra, it is? Yeah. It's like chocolate bars. It's just, they have got, I reckon they have got slightly smaller, but then it does depend on what car you drive. But there's a bigger story there, I reckon, Ryan, which is this sort of, the anti-car drive. Yes. So it's like actually getting rid of entire car parks, not just making them smaller or cars bigger. So there is that kind of urban miserabilism that, we shouldn't be doing things that are modern. And, someone who comes from the left of politics, I think I missed that memo when cars and roads and, building things became right-wing, and a sort of return to the Middle Ages and horse and carts became left-wing. It's like I missed that.
One day, we were talking robo-taxis earlier actually with Garth Bray, but one day we probably won't even need to park, will we? We can just jump in a robo-taxi and get taken where we need to go.
Or just put our VR mask on and just pretend we're somewhere,
Yes,
our lives will be so much better not.
I mean, we've got Uber, that didn't exist as a...
True.
And that's kind of, it's not robots driving it, but, you can get picked up from any curb now instead of going to a taxi stand.
Are you a small car guy or a big car guy?
Well, I aspire to be a big car guy, but probably the salary's probably more a small car guy.
Good to see you both. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks, Ryan.
That is Lever Fonseca, Business Desk, and Josie Bugani, Child Fund New Zealand Chief Executive. It is 29 minutes after 8. Herald Editor-at-Large Shane Curry has been on an ultimate journey travelling across the country and finding fascinating Kiwis and townships along the way. He's on day 4 of his 3-day roadie. He has now arrived in Christchurch and he's with us now. Hey, Shane.
It's 2 weeks, not 3 days.
Oh, there you go. We've sold you short. How's it going?
Oh, you're all good. How are you? How's Auckland?
Auckland is the same as always. There's a building being torn apart next door to us. I want to hear about your trip. You've been to Nightcaps, I understand.
Yeah, Nightcaps, for those who don't know where Nightcaps is, it's about 70 k's northwest of Invercargill. It's on the outer reaches of Southland. Fascinating town with a rich coal mining history, Ryan. And it's only got around 300 people now. It used to have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people in Nightcaps. Unfortunately, next year the coal mine closes, the last remaining coal mine that's owned by Bathurst. And so I spoke to the locals there, and they're a resilient bunch. Actually, they live in one of the most beautiful parts of the world. Nightcaps, I think, has got the best name of any town in New Zealand. It's named after the snow-capped Takitimu Ranges, which are right next door. It's in the shadow of those ranges. And it's been through some tough times, but I tell you what, the locals, like most of the mainlanders, Ryan, are very optimistic and positive. They love their town, and they even accommodated an Aucklander coming down and haranguing them for half a day.
We're looking at your footage. It's absolutely beautiful. What other highlights have there been so far, Shane?
Well, certainly Nightcaps, but I think one of the highlights of my life actually was on Wednesday night when I went up Mount John at Lake Tekapo and enjoyed a 100% clear night for the stargazing. That's the Dark Sky Project, where, Ryan, you almost feel like you can literally touch the stars. It is an incredible place. And we watched Mars descend, go below the horizon, and then we watched Saturn come up. And I know you're seeing some footage at the moment, but they give you access to those large telescopes. And so I was able to look through and see Saturn close up with its rings, along with thousands and thousands of stars, including one that was actually dying. You could actually witness that. That's going to take a few more thousand years, but you could actually watch that as well through the telescopes. An incredible place.
It's absolutely beautiful. You noticed North Islanders flocking south, and there are lots of them. We know that the numbers sort of back this up. What are you spoken to some of them? What are they saying?
Yeah, well, basically, Queenstown, Cromwell, Wanaka are becoming like little Aucklands at the moment. The locals will hate me saying that, but yeah, it's the lifestyle mainly. I mean, the property prices are getting up there now, Ryan. If you just look at Nightcaps used to sell houses for in the tens of thousands of dollars not so long ago, but even Nightcaps is now the prices up there are getting up to $400,000. And of course, Queenstown, Wanaka are up around Auckland prices. But certainly the locals, they love. I spoke to former broadcaster Peter Williams. I spoke to Screen Time Chief Executive Philly DeLacy. They both talked about the lifestyle. Once you get out of Queenstown, the traffic is incredible. You don't see cars for minutes on end. It's like a different world, Ryan.
It sounds like a dream world, actually, from Auckland Central this morning. Shane, good to see you, as always, in Christchurch. Shane Curry, who is the Herald Editor-at-Large. 23 minutes away from 9, and we'll get to Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Hopes more defence spending will be targeted locally after the government's $2.7 billion purchase of new aircraft. It's buying 2 new Airbus A321 planes in a lease-to-buy plan and 5 Lockheed Martin Seahawk helicopters. The aircraft will replace the Defence Force's ageing 757s and Sea Sprites. Defence consultant and former Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Nera says there's still around $9 billion to spend as part of the Defence Capability Plan.
I do hope that there's a lot of strength placed on New Zealand industry that can be part of this. We can't really afford to have all of that money heading offshore.
A rich lister wrongly accused by artificial intelligence of being a child sex offender is pushing for the real offender to be named. The defendant was sentenced in Auckland District Court last week for possessing and importing thousands of objectionable material files. He was placed on the child sex offender register but granted permanent name suppression. A chatbot on X stated the platform founder, Wayne Wright Jr., was at the centre of the case, which our newsroom can confirm is false. Wright urged the man to come forward with his identity and has written to X owner Elon Musk requesting he improve the chatbot. A decision will be made today on setting up an international police agency base in the Pacific. Interpol pitched the idea to police representatives from 22 Pacific Island nations at an annual conference in Waitangi yesterday. Police Commissioner Richard Chambers says a regional base would give us a stronger voice on the world stage. First home buyers are holding one of their strongest positions in the property market in 20 years. Cotality figures for July show first home buyers account for 27% of buying activity, well above their long-term average of up to 22%. Little has changed for owner-occupiers, and mortgage multiple property owners make up a quarter of transactions, in line with historical norms. Cotality Chief Property Economist Calvin Davidson says first home buyers are jumping on the lower property values and low deposit lending from banks. Belief in the benefits of a modern, accelerated land acquisition process. Parliament's pushed through changes to the Public Works Act, said to make it quicker for agencies to acquire land. Landowners will now receive up to $92,000 in recognition and a premium if they sell early. Infrastructure New Zealand Chief Executive Nick Leggett says the old system was cumbersome and costly. A hoppy paradise for beer lovers as New Zealand's biggest beer festival begins in the capital. Beervana is welcoming more than 12,000 people to Wellington Sky Stadium across today and tomorrow. 65 breweries from New Zealand, Australia and South Korea will set up shop around the stadium's concourse, pouring more than 350 beers.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning, end of the working week, and it ends on a high, quite literally, with high pressure covering most of us today and tomorrow. There are a couple of features that will bring some showers to the northern half of the North Island, but it's dry for the lower south with morning cloud clearing and winds from the west or northwest. Maybe some valley cloud for inland spots. It's similar here with some morning cloud and morning frost, chance of showers for Banks Peninsula, Westport and Kaikoura. It is a little cloudy around today for the lower north, chance of showers too for most, although staying dry and fine for Taranaki with southeasterlies. It is another cool day here with a mix of fine and cloudy periods, a few showers too plaguing eastern spots with south to southwest winds. And the morning's looking good for the upper north, but cloud develops in the afternoon for Auckland with a couple of afternoon showers for Northland.
Welcome back. It is 23 minutes away from 9 o'clock. Armageddon has delighted fans for years with its cosplay and steady stream of big name attendees. At midday today, its founder will jump on a live stream promising the biggest celebrity announcement ever. Who could be heading to Armageddon this October? Well, we're about to find out. Joining us this morning is Bill Gerritz, who is the founder and is in Christchurch this morning. Bill, good morning.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you. So who are we expecting, or can you give us any clues?
I had to announce one name for you that we just confirmed this morning. So he's not going to be on the live stream that we're doing. This is our 30th anniversary show, and we always try to make the Armageddon shows as big and as popular as they can. But with getting celebrity guests, it's always difficult because you've got to work its costs and the schedule, availability, and what they're filming. This year, we've just hit the lotto numbers and got just yeses after yeses after yeses, and we've got a biggest selection of high-end movie star guests that we've ever had. And so to celebrate that, we're doing a 2-hour live stream that we recorded at Hobbiton. So it won't be me announcing it because I wouldn't subject people to that. But we filmed it in Hobbiton. It's a great thing there, and it looks amazing. And it's on our Facebook, it's on our YouTube. But one name that's not going to be on the live stream is one of our bigger guests, is Hollywood star Alan Tudyk, who's attending the show. Alan's finished a show called Resident Alien, but also, God, when you think he was in Superman, he was in Frozen, Moana, Serenity, Rogue One, and so many different shows. It's an easy one to find something you've seen him in. Talking to your guy off camera, he just watched him in Creature Commandos as Dr. Phosphorus. So there's a lot going on there. Now, that's a name that we've got coming out. The celebrity lineup, even if you're not a celebrity fan, there are names here that people are going to want to come to see. This is the one chance you can come. Every guest is doing a celebrity panel, so you can come and listen to them talk, ask them questions. You can buy an autograph and a photo and get a photo with them, which is something you can't do anywhere else. So now, on top of that, we have some of the biggest gaming and technology displays we've had since the pandemic hit. We've got a massive helicopter display in the middle of the show, gaming tournaments, virtual reality, dancing, entertainment, the whole 9 yards. It is 30 years in the making. This is going to be one of the single biggest event we've ever done in the 30 years of running shows.
Bill, it sounds like it's going to be an absolute blast. You know that I always wonder about the stars that come, over from LA or wherever they're living in the States or around the world. Do they actually enjoy doing it?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we've in all of the years that I've hosted guests, and we've done over 120 shows. I don't know how many guests we've hosted. Over 1,000, I would say, but a lot. I can think of only one or two that I didn't think had a good time. Most come to New Zealand because it's New Zealand as well. That's a big pull. But behind the scenes, and it shows I've been overseas, the convention scene, it's a fun scene. It's not hard, it can be taxing, but it's also, you've got people being just thrilled to meet you. How can that not be fun to do? I mean, the number of fans that I see at shows where they'll come up to the guest, they'll get a photo and they'll be very, very quiet and a little mousy and go, oh, thank you, and walk away. And then just as they're leaving, they'll do this little happy dance and a little squeal will come out of them. I've done that myself. I'm a big Doctor Who nerd. You can tell by the giant Cyber Lord head behind me. And after meeting some of the Doctor Who's, everybody has that person. If you're into rugby and you meet a All Black, you can have the same kind of reaction. And Armageddon, we get different things with Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, stars, and so many more coming for this October show. There's going to be a lot of squealing going on.
Brilliant. Sounds like you're absolutely into it, which I love. Bill, thanks for being with us, founder of Armageddon. Time is 18 minutes away from 9. We'll be back in just a moment.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz.
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
Welcome back. It is 16 away from 9. Light pollution is causing birds around the world to become night owls. A new global study has found birds are singing for nearly an hour longer at night due to increased artificial light. But it could be much more sinister than it sounds. Natalie Forstick is with us, Birds New Zealand President. Natalie, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you here. So an extra hour up, they must be knackered.
They must be. It's an extra lot of energy that they're putting in. They're busy. They must be doing their bird things, catching food, calling to each other, maybe looking after nests. So yeah, it seems like they'd be putting in a lot of extra energy during that extra hour.
What effect does that have? You know, if I don't get as much sleep, I can't concentrate as well, I might crash the car, you know, are they crashing?
Hopefully not, but they definitely might be using up some of those energy reserves and not feeling so well rested the next day. So that could have big impacts on, especially when they're looking after their chicks. So, you know, they've got a lot of work to do to find food for those chicks and go back to the nest all the time and feed them. So maybe it's going to have some impacts on them at that stage of their lives. But we also worry about how it might impact nocturnal birds as well. So the studies mostly looked at birds that are usually awake during the day, but we also have a lot of birds that are awake during the night. So seabirds, for example, are often nocturnal, and light at night can be a real impact for them. It can really distract them from where they're going because they rely on the light of the moon or the stars to guide them. And when they're young, especially, they might not have those good, have that good knowledge down just yet as to where to go. And so they can get really confused by the bright lights of our urban centres.
How much worse has light pollution got?
It seems to be steadily increasing as populations increase, but we sort of are seeing an interesting combination of factors where we're aware of the fact that light pollution is an issue, and so there are efforts made to mitigate it. So we're seeing different kinds of lighting being used which have lower frequencies, lower wattages, and that can be really helpful, or even just the use of more directed light for specific purposes rather than just light everywhere.
I suppose the thing is, like, we need light because we're humans and we need to be able to see where we're going and on the roads and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of lights that we don't need to have on, I suppose. Like, why did they put those lights on the harbour bridge? Are they necessary?
They're probably a safety thing, I imagine, for aircrafts as well, coming through that area. It's good to know that the bridge is there. But yeah, we can think about, especially in our own backyards, what kind of extra lights we might have on, thinking about closing the curtains to our house at night, keep the light inside rather than having it illuminating the outside where we don't need it.
Would that actually make a difference? Would that be, if everyone closed their curtains at night, it would make a difference?
Every little bit helps.
Like the blackout?
Like the blackout.
How do we know they won't just adjust and adapt to this?
Yeah, so they probably are doing in some way. So definitely throughout the year, the light period changes. So in summer, we love to benefit from those extra long evenings, get out to the beach in the evening while it's still light. Birds are probably doing the same and adjusting back during winter. But we don't know what other kind of impacts it might be having at this stage. And there's some interesting questions about how it might impact our native species versus those species that have been introduced to New Zealand, where they might have had a bit more time to get used to there being light at night.
True, yeah, good point. Fascinating stuff. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it. That is Natalie Forstick, the Birds New Zealand President on Herald Now, just gone 12 minutes away from 9 o'clock. And it is time to talk business, thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. And in a developing story this morning, Fonterra has announced it has a deal to sell its mainland businesses for $3.8 billion. This is a story we've been following now, well, for months at least. Garth Bray from Business Desk is here with the very latest. Garth, what do we know?
Huge deal, Ryan. Huge deal. I mean, this is the mainland brands, consumer brands, anchor stuff that's been on our shelves for over 100 years, and also Australian business. And the market expectations around this were that there was going to be a trade sale rather than an IPO, a listing. And Lactalis has confirmed, that's the largest dairy producer in the world, has announced that there are terms subject to shareholder approval. That they're going to take it for 3.8. That's about $840 million ahead of where most people thought this deal would land. There's also a sweetener in there if Fonterra can sort out a little legal dispute with Bega Cheese in Australia over the right to distribute Bega's brands. That would take the deal value to $4.2 billion. We're talking about a $3.2 billion payday for farmers in this country off this, is what they're saying. They're targeting $2 a share return on this, I think tax-free, or net of tax. That's massive if this goes through. Late October, early November, shareholder meeting to approve it. All the indications that we had when we were running around the traps on this back in May was that there was fairly strong support for it, and that farmers could see that this was a way to go forward to get Fonterra focused on its job of producing milk and worry about someone else actually selling the branded stuff as well. I mean, we saw Miles Hurrell getting dragged a little bit, the CEO earlier this year, over the price of butter. That would be in the past. That'd be someone else's problem under this. That's a side consideration. The main are the fundamentals here, and this is a very, very big and strong number that we're seeing, so you'd expect that there'll be strong shareholder support for it when it goes forward.
What's driving that strong number?
Well, I mean, look at the price. Just yesterday they were talking about $10.15, I think, as the forecast season payout, and that's going to be another $10 per kilo of milk solids next year. We've talked about the global dairy trade numbers this week and strong demand. There's just a worldwide shortage over several years of dairy, and people are lapping it up. So I guess they're prepared, Lactalis, to get in there and pay quite a hefty price for it. I mean, looking at sort of some of the commentary around this, they're basically the chair of Lactalis is basically saying this lets us expand into or get stronger in Australia and Asia, because there are Sri Lankan and other assets tied up with this deal as well. And for Fonterra, really, it just basically means that they've got now the scale to market those brands in a better way than Fonterra can. Fonterra still sells the milk to them to make all the butter, cheese and the rest of it. So
it's sticking to your knitting a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, some will criticise and say, hey, look, you're handing over something. Can't you make more of it? This is basically you're giving up. But maybe it is that. It's saying, look, actually, we're really good at, and everybody would say in this country, growing grass and turning it into milk powder. A lot of people are good at that. A lot of people have studied that. So focus on that bit, and then also maybe look at some of the higher value powders and nutritional stuff that they can do.
It's interesting because Fonterra's been sort of grappling with this question of do we sell, don't we sell for a very long time. It's like the best time probably to sell, by the sounds of it.
And like I said, this is basically Christmas coming early. This is for a rural sector that's paid down about $1 billion worth of farm debt. On top of that OCR number, and bear in mind a lot of farmers are on floating rates, so they will immediately be getting the benefit of what banks have been doing in the last couple of days. She's very good news for the rural sector. Let's just see how that translates through to the rest. Probably means they'll be able to renew their Sky subscriptions, which we should probably take you to the other news there, which is that Sky has just dropped on their market that they've struck a deal with the NZR for the 2026 to 2030 broadcast rights. So they've stitched up that deal with for rugby rights for for the new tournaments that are going to be coming through for the Lions Tour in 2029, for the men's tournament that's be running across 6 nations in Southern Hemisphere. So that there's no commercially confidential. We're not sure what the numbers are. Reports that it was probably going to be south of the 111 million reported, never confirmed that they'd paid previously.
75,
85,
like
I think, was one report that Gregor here at the Herald was running with. So we won't know those numbers, and we're still hunting actually for their annual result reports at this point. So they've dropped that one out early. So big day, but that mainland deal, huge deal of the year.
Garth, good to have you on, and great for farmers, as you say, which should have been great for us too. Appreciate your time. Garth Bray, Business Desk, thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. It is 7 minutes away from 9. The government's breakdown-prone 757s will be replaced by 2 extra long-range Airbus planes as part of a $2.7 billion defence investment. We're also getting 5 MH-60R Seahawk helicopters equipped with anti-submarine torpedo systems, Hellfire missiles and machine guns. Earlier, the Air Vice Marshal Darren Webb, Chief of Air Force, was on the program. I started off by asking, why did we pick these particular Seahawks?
Well, the Seahawks are really a combat-capable machine, which is perfectly designed for the job that we need them to do. So they will be out supporting the Naval Combat Force. They have systems on board which are able to detect, track, target, and if necessary, prosecute surface and subsurface targets. So we're really excited about what that's going to bring for our men and women of the Defence Force.
They were described to me this morning as sub-hunters. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I think that's a fair description. They're an extremely capable machine. They can fly off the back of all of our ships in our current Royal New Zealand Navy. But primarily they are in support of the frigate fleet, and they are there to protect and support whatever surface action group might be out there doing its task. It has great range, it has great speed and endurance, so it can get out ahead of the ships and protect and support those men and women.
Dumb question from me, there'll be plenty of them coming, don't worry. But so they are sub-hunters, they can detect submarine under the water, they can potentially fire at them. Can the submarines detect them and fire at them?
Primarily the submarine's role is to be hidden from any sort of surface view, so it's not in their interests to be caught, and so they will be taking evasive measures rather than offensive tactics.
How far can they fly? How far from the frigates can they go?
Yeah, so they can fly up to 1,000 kilometres. So that's a really good distance, and as importantly, they can also have up to 4 hours of endurance. And so a helicopter's role is quite variable. It might need to be out there with a dipping sonar, listening for submarines. It might need to be looking beyond the visual horizon, or indeed it might need to be moving people and cargo in an underslung load scenario. So extremely versatile machine, and we're really excited about when they arrive.
So a couple of those things you mentioned are things that a drone couldn't do. Will we add the drone capability later?
Yeah, exactly. I think the good word there would be complementary. So we need both. We need the helicopters to come first to replace the ageing Sea Sprite, and then in a subsequent tranche, we will be looking at the drones or the uncrewed systems to follow.
And the planes, I've been on those 757s, they are a bit rickety. I mean, they do the job, but they are a bit rickety. So what is the range on them? What's the thinking with those?
Yeah, so the XLR is a new aircraft to market. I think around the world people are putting great value on the ability to move great distances, and anybody who lives in New Zealand knows that that's a challenge that we face. And so we looked across all sorts of different types, and they really meet the needs of New Zealand Defence Force the best. So range, speed, payload, and when you bring those things together with a single aisle type aircraft, the XLR really stands out as the best in the market. As an example, we will be able to fly from New Zealand directly to Singapore in one go, and importantly for our missions to Antarctica, for the first time we'll be able to fly down there with what's called a no point of safe return issue. So up until this moment, at some stage in that journey, you reach a point where you can no longer safely get back to New Zealand, and the weather deteriorations can occur down there such that it's going to be far more safe for the crews and the passengers on board.
Yeah, I've been on that trip to Antarctica, and you do get a bit nervous around the halfway mark, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the $2.7 billion price tag, given that we're going through this, the American military route, are we getting value for money? I mean, do we know that?
We do. This is the foreign military sales process. It's exactly the same technique that we use to acquire the P-8 Poseidon and the C-130J. Essentially, it's a government-to-government relationship where we are able to leverage the scale of the US government to work on our behalf, and then they negotiate the deal with Lockheed Martin for us. So we are very confident that we will get the best price, and not only the best price, but the best timing as well.
Do you plan for operations, like potential combat, with these aircraft, and who are you fighting?
Yeah, combat capability is absolutely something that we need to think about as the Defence Force. Up until now, working in a defensive mode may be more traditional, but the world is changing, and we need the tools to safely protect our people and do our job, and that requires both offence and defence, and we're not shying away from that requirement, that's for sure.
That was Air Vice Marshal Darren Webb, Chief of Air Force, on the show a little earlier this morning. Time now 2 minutes away from 9 o'clock. Neva here in just a second. First, Marsden Point, its past, present and potential future. That's what Chelsea Daniels is covering in the Front Page podcast today, and she's at the desk. Hey, Chelsea.
Good morning.
People love talking about Marsden Point.
Love talking about Marsden Point. And I thought, why not do the past, present and future, potential future, all in one episode, so you've got all of the facts and everything all in one place. So I spoke to Massey University Emeritus Professor Ralph Sims. We walked through the site's history. So it opened in the 60s, of course, then it was boom time in the 80s, and of course its closure in 2022. He told me for years the International Air Transport Association Association, of which Air New Zealand is a major member, has been looking at sustainable aviation fuels. He says Marsden Point could be a world-leading and has the potential to be a world-leading for producing sustainable aviation fuels. And I put that to Channel Infrastructure CEO Rob Buchanan as well. They're the ones who run it. So it went from Refinery NZ to Channel Infrastructure. And he said aviation fuel could flow through its infrastructure today. So they don't need to change anything because you know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you can't put diesel into an unleaded car because it would do something, right? That's the very base level of my knowledge. But basically, yeah, everything can run through today. And Rob said one of the unique features of their location at Marsden Point is that they've got a very large land holding which is consented for at least the next 35 years for fuel manufacture. At the moment, they're just kind of getting it in and distributing it. Obviously, about 40% of New Zealand's total petrol comes through Marsden Point still, but they're not actually refining or making anything. So what could its future be?
Ooh, sounds like a good one today. We'll look forward to it, Chelsea. Thank you. That is Chelsea Daniels, the Front Page podcast, to get it wherever you like to listen. All right, it is 9 o'clock. Here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Hopes more defence spending will be targeted locally after the government's $2.7 billion purchase of new aircraft. It's buying 2 new Airbus A321 planes in a lease-to-buy plan and 5 Lockheed Martin Seahawk helicopters. The aircraft will replace the Defence Force's ageing 757s and Sea Sprites. Defence consultant and former Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Nera says there's still around $9 billion to spend as part of the Defence Capability Plan.
I do hope that there's a lot of strength placed on New Zealand industry that can be part of this. We can't really afford to have all of that money heading offshore.
A rich lister wrongly accused by artificial intelligence of being a child sex offender is pushing for the real offender to be named. The defendant was sentenced in Auckland District Court last week for possessing and importing thousands of objectionable material files. He was placed on the child sex offender register but granted permanent name suppression. A chatbot on X stated the platform founder, Wayne Wright Jr., was at the centre of the case, which our newsroom can confirm is false. Wright urged the man to come forward with his identity and has written to X owner Elon Musk requesting he improve the chatbot. A decision will be made today on setting up an international police agency base in the Pacific. Interpol pitched the idea to police representatives from 22 Pacific Island nations at an annual conference in Waitangi yesterday. Police Commissioner Richard Chambers says a regional base would give us a stronger voice on the world stage. First home buyers are holding one of their strongest positions in the property market in 20 years. Cotality figures for July show first home buyers account for 27% of buying activity, well above their long-term average of up to 22%. Little has changed for owner-occupiers, and mortgage multiple property owners make up a quarter of transactions, in line with historical norms. Cotality Chief Property Economist Calvin Davidson says first home buyers are jumping on the lower property values and low deposit lending from banks. Belief in the benefits of a modern, accelerated land acquisition process. Parliament's pushed through changes to the Public Works Act, said to make it quicker for agencies to acquire land. Landowners will now receive up to $92,000 in recognition and a premium if they sell early. Infrastructure New Zealand Chief Executive Nick Leggett says the old system was cumbersome and costly. A hoppy paradise for beer lovers as New Zealand's biggest beer festival begins in the capital. Beervana is welcoming more than 12,000 people to Wellington Sky Stadium across today and tomorrow. 65 breweries from New Zealand, Australia and South Korea will set up shop around the stadium's concourse, pouring more than 350 beers.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning, end of the working week, and it ends on a high, quite literally, with high pressure covering most of us today and tomorrow. There are a couple of features that will bring some showers to the northern half of the North Island, but it's dry for the lower south with morning cloud clearing and winds from the west or northwest. Maybe some valley cloud for inland spots. It's similar here with some morning cloud and morning frost. Chance of showers for Banks Peninsula, Westport and Kaikoura. It is a little cloudy around today for the lower north. Chance of showers too for most, although staying dry and fine for Taranaki with southeasterlies. It is another cool day here with a mix of fine and cloudy periods, a few showers too plaguing eastern spots with south to southwest winds. And the morning's looking good for the upper north, but cloud develops in the afternoon for Auckland with a couple of afternoon showers for Northland.
Thanks, Heather. And that is it for us for today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again on Monday from 7 o'clock. For more news in the meantime, head to nzherald.co.nz. Quick thank you to our partners before we go this morning. Forsyth Bar, You Do It, Barker's, Max, 2 Degrees, GJ Gardner, Dilmar and of course Noel Lemming from all the team at Herald Now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Monday.